Alright, today we're going to be taking a look at the Powkiddy X20, a new-to-market retro emulation handheld device. Packaging, bare bones, just black, plain black packaging. Go get it out of the box. There we go, see what's inside. So we have the X20 device itself. Under the tray, looks like we have a micro USB cable for charging and an instruction booklet. There we go. Always satisfying. So we've got a nice looking 5-inch screen here. We got dual analog sticks. We got a D-pad as well as action buttons. We got L and R up top. I will say I've always just called these candy buttons. I don't know how else to describe them. They just look like candy to me. I'm not a fan of them. They're nice and hard, which is fine for your inputs and everything, but especially for the D-pad, as you can maybe see here, they are very prominently raised. So if you're trying to play like a fighting game and you're trying to do quarter circle movements, you're not going to be able to pull that off very well because it sticks up way too tall. So once you push down and you try to get over, you're going to hit that. And you're just not going to be able to do those quarter circle movements. Luckily, we do have analog sticks, so hopefully those work well in the fighting games. The L and R buttons are very stiff. Obviously, the lower I press on it, the easier it is to engage the button, but the higher I press on it, I have to push twice as hard as any of these directional or action buttons here on the front of the face. We have a start button here in the right hand corner and a select button here in the left hand corner. This has a very PS Vita look and aesthetic to it. Up top we've got lots and lots of ports, so it looks like we've got 2 micro USB ports for charging, I believe it's mini HDMI, I always forget mini or micro, but I believe it's the mini HDMI out, so you can hook this up to a television and essentially use this as a controller and play it on a television or any kind of device that has an HDMI input. We have our on and off power switch, and then we have the micro SD card slot. This is expandable up to 128 gigabytes. This did come with a preloaded SD card that has over 3,000 games on it. And then on the back, we have the single speaker and what looks to be a camera that doesn't work. This uses the Linux operating system as opposed to Android, so if this was Android, there probably would actually be a camera there that did work, but I don't play handheld devices with the intention of taking pictures with those handheld devices, so that's a moot point to me. Not a big fan of where they put this speaker though, because as you're holding it, you're going to naturally kind of cover that up, so it may muffle some of the game audio, but let's go ahead and check it out and see how the emulation is. All right, here's the main operating system menu. Looks like we've got some shortcuts to some of the more popular arcade titles to play. Definitely a no frills, no thrills type of operating system. It really could have been done a lot better. I mean, this is a good looking screen. There's no glare issues or poor viewing angles, things like that, but to have such a lackluster operating system is kind of disappointing for what appears to be a rather decent looking device. Like I said, the candy colored buttons kind of take away from the aesthetic. It looks nice and sleek, and then you throw on these multicolored buttons and faces and it really kind of detracts from the overall aesthetic, I think. So we can go and jump into a game like that, or see, we can go down and explore our sub menus. So it looks like we have the game, what is that, music. So if you want to put MP3 files on there, you can probably play them. You can look at pictures. I'll never utilize any of these functions, and it looks like you could put some video clips on here as well. You can explore all the folders and then settings. So it looks like we've got language settings, theme. Let's check that out. Okay, so that just changes the background image. Off-screen settings, I'm going to assume this is just to turn it on and off for sleep mode if you're not playing it. Keytone, please tell me that is how we get rid of this noise. Oh, okay, so we can change this silly noise. I'm going to get rid of it completely because that is super distracting to me. Restore, system information. All right, so like I said, we got shortcuts to our main titles, but let's go to the game and explore what we've got to look. So we've got 4-player games. I'm going to assume these are just arcade games. CPS, which would be your arcade games. Famicom, aka Nintendo, NES, got Game Boy, Game Boy Advance, Game Boy Color, Mega Drive / Sega Genesis, PlayStation 1, and Super Famicom, aka Super Nintendo. So that looks to be the emulated systems on this device. Like I said, everything's preloaded on here. You can add your own games. You'd simply pop out that SD card slot and then drag and drop your ROM folders on here. Okay, so this just looks to be a organization of 4-player arcade games, which is kind of strange because to my knowledge you can't really hook up any external controllers. So looking at the instruction manual and really trying to figure out more about these micro USB ports, all they are labeled as is the charging port, and then it has parentheses and optional handle interface. Now that doesn't really explain how to, or if it's even possible to hook up external controllers and potentially play these 4-player arcade titles with additional players. So to the best of my knowledge, you can't. If you can, it's definitely not explicitly stated in the instruction booklet, so I'm just going to go on a limb and say you cannot play those 4-player titles with additional controllers. Alright, looking at the arcade titles, we just get a brief picture and a very brief description of the game title. Looks like we can hit left and right to page through it much quicker. Lots of great titles on here. Really impressed with how many good games are on here. Let's see, just double checking a couple. Yeah, just as I kind of suspected. Does look like there are some glaring omissions, so we do have a lot of great games. You're going to have all your fighting games, your Street Fighters, good things like Metal Slug, your beat-em-ups. Looks like we are missing some key arcade titles like Mortal Kombat, NBA Jam, just to name a few that's popping out right out of the gate just from looking at this title listing. But overall, several hundred great arcade titles. So it's a good mix. And like I said, you can add your own games on here, so that's impressive. So anything that is missing, you can just throw it on there. Not too difficult. Let's just randomly, yeah, let's pick up, oh yeah, we got the modded versions of Street Fighter 2, the Rainbow Edition. Those are always comical. Yeah, let's try up Third Strike. So find out. So D-pad works, analog stick works. Yep. Shoulder buttons. So yeah, again, those shoulder buttons are really hard to press. Not the most ergonomical or comfortable thing to push on those shoulder buttons for those high attacks. But it does appear to be emulating pretty well. No issues with the sound. Street Fighter 3 is not exactly the hardest game in the world to emulate, but nonetheless, this great little portable device for, you know, traveling, things like that. You don't want to break out, you know, the Nintendo Switch or something like that and risk, you know, losing or damaging it. This is a retail price for about $65. So check out some other systems for emulation. So you start and select. That kicks it. Nope, doesn't kick us out. So it brings us up to our menu. So it looks like we can restart. It does have save slots, so that's cool. So you can save your game, change the controls. Device type RetroPad, Classic, Modern, none. We'll just leave it on RetroPad so we can reconfigure our inputs, it looks like. Yep. But that's it. There's no way to change the screen orientation, so if you don't like the stretched image, it looks like you're out of luck, because that's all you get. But, you know, it is what it is. So overall, I gotta say this is a pretty nifty little device for the price point. There are definitely some pros and cons. The biggest con to me is the operating system, the lack of options here in the menu, so we can't change things like scan lines or aspect ratio or things like that. We do have save states, which is nice. The buttons themselves, again, I'm not a fan of the candy color aesthetic. I think those should have just been black or something to make it a little more sleek of a design. The single speaker on the back, again, it gets loud enough, but it does get covered up by your hand, so that is disappointing. The HDMI out, which is very nice, so you can put this up on a projector or a TV or something like that and use this as a portable console, which is really nifty. The D-pad works well enough for normal directional games. I do wish it would have been a little less prominently raised though, because it doesn't work well for fighting games. Luckily though, the analog sticks do a very good job. So those are going to be your go-to for your fighting games, and the expansion and the capabilities of adding your own games is a nice feature. So $68, $65, somewhere around there is the MSRP for this device. If you're interested in picking one up, I'll put a product link down in the video description box below. But hope you enjoyed the content. If you did, make sure you hit that like button, share this video with your friends if you found the information helpful, and as always, thanks for watching, guys. It really means a lot.